Thrill me.
I'm gonna name you Kodo. You get a name too, Podo.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
You too? You got a boner too? Blue Steel.
Welcome, everybody, to another Q's and T's installment of the Unkind Rewind. I am Josh Dugan, currently residing in the Twin Cities, joined here on the interwebs by Sean McGrath.
Series of tubes.
Yeah, series of tubes. That was Ted Stevens, right?
Yeah, fucking rotten.
Alaskan
piece.
senator. Yeah. Tech guru.
Oh, God.
Not really any different than any of the sitting senators right now either. It's just a gerontocracy. It's great.
Sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
Sad state of affairs to be like nostalgic about the kind of
innocence of idiots like Ted Stevens.
Yeah,
and, was it Jim Inhofe who came into the Senate with a fucking snowball? It was, right?
But he's still in the Senate.
Is he seriously?
He must be, right? He must be.
I think Jim Inhofe is dead.
Oh,
I hope he
okay,
is.
Good.
I mean, just he's former U.S. senator.
Let's see.
He died. He actually died in July of last year.
Oh, good. Okay.
At 89 years old.
Yeah, so he was in office until he was 87, it looks like. Yeah, he brought in a snowball to refute that there was climate change going on.
If I were to ballpark it at when he left the Senate, it would be way earlier than 2023, though.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He was in the Senate until he was 87. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bad news.
Well,
bad stuff.
Bad stuff going on right now. Yeah, we're in the midst of Signal Gate as we're recording this.
Yeah, I mean, this drops tomorrow, so.
Yeah. So, I'm sure there are very little.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is the last time that any of you will hear our voices because we've been detained and deported to, I don't know.
Probably, I mean,
in El Salvador.
That's probably an optimistic way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be in Canada and have to come back across the border
right
in May.
And they're going to bring this podcast up on us? On you?
Probably.
I know. Your name shows up in SEO, search engine optimization results. So
it sure does.
Oh, you're so screwed.
Yeah.
Have you picked up? Yeah. Have you got enough Canadian sports teams hats to wear when you're up there, so you can blend in a little bit? Do you have any Blue Jays hats?
Well, it's possible. Maybe Minnesota will have been annexed.
Oh yeah.
In the coming border war. We'll see. Maybe Minnesota will be part of Canada, and then I just won't go into Maine. I'll just stay in Canada. It'll be fine. Yeah.
I was in Chicago last week and celebrating my buddy's book launch. He wrote a book, a biography.
What's the name of the book and who's the author?
So it's called Daredevil at the Wheel. It's by Tony St. Clair, and it's about a woman named Joanne LaCosta from the 1920s who was a race car driver.
Okay.
And Josh and I know a little something about race car driving now, but
yeah.
In the 1920s, it was considerably more dangerous, and cars were considerably less well made than they are now.
Yes.
They basically
they were also going a lot. I mean, like they weren't going 200 miles an hour.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
But they were going
much.
fast, and you were basically just like on a death machine.
They wouldn't know. They would. Their eyes would cross if you brought up the concept of a roll bar.
Yeah, or the halo. You know, the whole like had halo protection in the F1 cars.
Or a seatbelt, even.
Yes, yeah. And in F1, you're not just in a seatbelt. You are strapped in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're ready to blast off into outer space. But this was the mid 1920s, and she has a really strange career arc because even though she kind of hits the apex of race car driving in the 1920s, she kind of leaves the limelight as a criminal.
Okay.
Yeah, so very interesting turn for her in the late 1920s, post crash, which played a part in her downfall somewhat. But yeah, really cool kind of to be there. And, I don't have a friend that writes a book every day, so snuck into Chicago and was there for that. So I would encourage everybody to check it out. Daredevil at the Wheel, Tony St. Clair, hell of a guy. And this was his first book. So
Nice.
You only write your first book once. So I was glad to be there for that. I did make a terrible mistake, and here's where like Google reviews let me down, because I went to a pretty well reviewed deep dish pizzeria place.
Okay.
But I should have walked away based on the name of the pizzeria.
What was the name?
Well, take a guess what would be like a really terrible name that you should have known not to go.
Cheese Dick's Pizza Pies.
I mean, that has more character than what I went to. I went to, and this isn't like a Yelp.
Was this just Chicago's best pizza?
Worse than that, Chicago's Pizza.
Ooh, okay.
Which is a name that you like have as a placeholder when you're talking about starting a business.
Right.
No.
In a city other than Chicago.
Yes, exactly. Like Chicago's Pizza might work in Milwaukee. It might work in
or Bozeman.
Yeah. It might work in Honolulu.
Sure. Like you could name your pizza place Detroit Deep Dish.
Sure.
If you were not in Detroit.
No, but I'm in Chicago.
Yes.
And it had
what
really
was the
cool...
worst part about the pizza?
It was so mid. There's nothing to it. Everything felt bland. Everything felt like, low quality. It looked like a deep dish pizza.
Sure. It's not hard to imitate that.
The staff was nice, but there wasn't anything, really. Yeah, there wasn't any part of that pizza that was tasty.
Right. Yeah.
It was just empty calories and fat. So
now, how do you come down on Chicago style deep dish in the first place?
I'm okay. I mean, I'm really just.
How did it compare to you went to? It was Masa, right, in Silver Lake.
Masa is so much better.
Okay.
Yeah, Masa in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like what area was that in?
Pizza.
Was that Echo Park?
That was in Silver Lake.
Silver Lake.
Sorry, that's Echo Park. That's just into where it's Echo Park and not Silver Lake anymore.
Okay. We need to get specific when it comes to LA because Josh is on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would kill for Masa, but no, I fucked up. I should have judged a book on the title. And I only have myself to blame for it. I mean, nice staff. The place looked okay, but I'm not going to go back. Is that something where you would write a Google review? Is that something like where I would take the time and be like, it wasn't...
A lot of times I will check... I'll check like a eater list or something like that.
Yeah, I fucked up. I mean, it's 4.6 out of 5 on...
No, 4.6 is usually enough that you don't think twice.
Right.
It's just a matter of like how much time do you have to search for whatever your meal's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do better. We can all do better.
So before we get into the follow-ups for everything, and this will be the last Q's and T's installment of season 2. We'll be going dark for just like a month and a half or so. where we'll be finishing up recording the new season, which we're already we're recording the 7th. We're starting the 7th episode cycle tomorrow. So, we're well on our way to finishing that season. I think we're only looking at booking 2 more of the season 3 guests right now.
Mm-hmm.
The intrepid Unkind Rewind fans can consult either my Substack or my Letterboxd and figure out what the movies we are doing are, because I do log them. I don't review or say anything about them until the episode comes out, but I do log it just to document that I saw it at that point in time.
They could also go back and watch some of these movies that they haven't. If you haven't,
that too.
If you haven't experienced Gymkata,
yes, you absolutely should.
We encourage you to do that. And even our latest episode, Pump Up the Volume, go back and watch that. Phase 4 again.
Yes.
You might be listening to these and are kind of taking our word for it as we walk you through these episodes. But it does help to kind of see them too. To add that to the experience. So
right, even if I'm listening to a movie podcast, I almost always want to have seen the movie recently or know it so well.
Right.
I want to have a very good concept of what the movie is when I'm hearing people talk about it. So not to say that people can't do this however they want, but I do think you get more out of it if you've seen the movie.
So there are some good ones. I mean, there are definitely some clunkers, not in terms of our podcast, but in terms of the movies that we've excoriated.
I would not ever recommend anyone watch The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah. I mean, even dim children, don't do that. Don't give them that movie. Aspire to better things in your life. Either watching or rewatching. God forbid.
I'm trying to think of ones that I would just say outright avoid. And right now, that's the only one that I think is a full-on avoid that movie.
Yeah, of the ones that we've looked at?
Of the ones that we've dropped the main event for.
We have one coming up, right? We have one that is in the can.
We're
not going to talk about what it is, but you'll know it. You'll
know when you're listening that we did not like this movie.
You will know how Josh and I feel pretty clearly.
Yep.
We would go ahead and add that as well when it does come up to Lost World. Yeah, they can't all be firstborn.
And there's some from season 3 coming up that we've recorded that we had major issues with.
Sure. Yeah.
But not necessarily ones that we would say avoid at all costs.
Right. And we could have major issues with movies that we eventually come down on the right side of.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say don't watch Dreamscape, but I hated Dennis Quaid in it.
Right. And there's of course the moment in Dreamscape, which is irredeemable.
That's supremely fucked up. Obviously St. Elmo's Fire is very problematic, but I watch it.
You're some weird glutton for punishment.
I don't like the movie, but I do end up seeing it once a year.
Yeah, it's St. Elmo's Fire is kind of like me getting a big 20-ounce Mountain Dew. I don't want to do it often, but it's a little self-flagellation.
Yeah.
That feels a little good in the moment.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, for season 3, the plan right now is to be dropping episodes beginning of June. There's a couple of... We're trying to get a duck in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll... that's kind of how we're, at least in the abstract, hoping to kick off the season, but we'll see. I'm going to definitely be dropping episodes in June, hopefully the first Thursday in June, but just depends a little bit on scheduling. Now, as was noted on all the social media posts for last week's episode, Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends' new record, The Way of Neutron, dropped last week. Whole thing is live. You can stream it or purchase it on Bandcamp. Or you can stream it wherever you stream music, but Bandcamp's obviously better for the bands. They also just announced tour dates in addition to their Japanese dates that we talked about on the podcast.
Is he in Japan right now?
No, not yet. He's still got US dates this weekend. Chicago, Madison, Kenosha, and one other, I think.
He's probably
But then they're
taking
going to be in Japan starting next week, I believe. So April. It's early April. They're in Japan.
He's cramming Duolingo right now.
Big time. They also just announced their 20 US dates in May and June. So head over to neutronfriends.com to see if they're coming to your neck of the woods. Now, friend of the pod and season 1 guest for our Beastmaster episode, Jeremy Steen, shared his Oscar thoughts at the referential Substack. Let's talk about Goons there. I'll throw that link in the show notes along with a link to Conan's tour dates. Now, regarding Gymkata, got another one in there from Los Cantu on Letterboxd, Carlos. He said, so do they make chicken parm and parmesan? Is it like the national dish? I don't think I ever got the answer. What gives? Also, next move after typing this stupid review is finding a streamer for American Anthem. And then thanks to Unkind Rewind Pod, it's an absolute joy to know this actually exists in the world. So don't just take our word for it. Carlos agrees everyone should be watching Gymkata. Now,
it seems like a joke that he would have made, like in that movie, when told about Parmesan.
Absolutely.
Like Kurt Thomas would have been like, suppose they have good chicken parm, something like that, right? Like that's what. Let's just go ahead and assume.
But with as leaden a delivery as you could make that joke.
Yeah, and with a too long of a pregnant pause afterwards to hold for laughs.
Yeah. Like a very long applause break, where he thinks that he's at like a talk show and the light goes on for the crowd.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and assure Carlos that was in the director's cut. And they needed to, shave 20 seconds.
Yeah. Which is a bummer. All right. So moving on to Pump Up the Volume. When we dropped the Q's and T's at Mobius13 said, this is on Blue Sky. I was lucky enough to dig out an old cardboard case DVD copy of this movie circa 1999 or so. The DVD gives you the option of watching it in full screen or letterboxed, which is just wild. I know it was from around 99 because one of the special features was the IMDb credits for the director and main actors. And it stopped in 1998. Gotta love those bargain basement DVDs. Then Gopher Balls said on Blue Sky, I bet this movie makes no sense to anyone who grew up on YouTube or even MP3 players. From what I can recall seeing it in the theater, I like the music and the main character shtick, but had a hard time willingly suspending disbelief about how things go down and how much trouble they get in. And John Morris responded to that. Okay, but Samantha Mathis.
Right. It can come back to that on so many different occasions.
Yes. Yeah. I was not expecting to like Samantha Mathis as much as I did. I'm mostly familiar with her at this point from she has a recurring role on SVU, and she was actually in the mix to be Benson. She was one of the final 3 or 4 actresses considered for Benson. It was her, Reiko Aylesworth, and Hargitay. Now, after rewatching the film, but before we drop the episode, Mobius13 said this was a lot darker than I remember it being. Movies like this, Heathers, Better Off Dead, and Even Say Anything definitely reflected a more nihilistic view of the world than the typical teen movie fare from earlier in the decade, at least to me. Which, yeah, those are the ones I like more. Those are the ones that I return to all the time. I've watched Say Anything and Heathers in the last 2 or 3 years. I've watched Say Anything in the last 6 months.
I didn't even realize, and we didn't talk about it, but Christian Slater and Samantha Mathis would reunite 6 years later in Broken Arrow.
Oh, weird. And they're not dating at that point.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I guess they could have gotten back together, but not to my knowledge.
No, because that was post River.
Oh yeah.
River Phoenix.
Yep.
Definitely rest in peace on River Phoenix.
Yeah, big time. Then after the main event dropped, Mobius added, "Enjoyed the podcast. However, where's the love for Cowboy Junkies?" And I don't really think about Cowboy Junkies that much.
Yeah,
like,
me either.
I liked that cover of what's the Velvet Underground song? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Also, R.E. Mark and his music. You guys said
you could
tape trading.
Josh, let's make sure that you're safe. Trying to come back into the United States. Cowboy Junkies are a Canadian band, and ergo, we're vehemently.
Ergo, we care about them a lot, and the Tragically Hip.
Well, I was going to say that we don't care about them at all, so that the customs in the U.S. would allow you to come back in.
Oh, well, do I want to come back though?
Yeah, you're gonna have to make that decision when you're up there.
Yeah.
How are you gonna get the bootlegs of this podcast though to the people once you're up recording in Canada?
Probably like balloons.
You're gonna need that kind of the chubby kid from Pump Up the Volume.
Yeah, probably.
He'll make bootlegs of our show.
But yeah, regarding tape trading, Mobius 13 thinks that Mark did a lot of tape trading with friends back east because Mobius didn't find Fishbone or Dead Kennedys at the local Penny Lane or Seventh Heaven in Casey.
How about one fucking scene where he gets a package from somebody back east and he opens it up and it's a bunch of tapes? Huh? How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. There are multiple things. We wanted him at the record store. We wanted him
at a concert.
Now we want him getting tapes from his friends back east.
If this makes no sense.
Not just the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, you can go ahead and listen to his friends.
Yeah.
His personal friends, the Beastie Boys. But if this makes no sense, you haven't heard the last episode of the pod,
right.
So
right.
Go back and check the Pump Up the Volume main event.
Yeah. Now, Gopher Ball said the pirate radio in our town was two dudes from the local college who had a transmitter slightly more powerful than a Mr. Microphone and little material beyond saying curse words. Pretty sure they shut it down after a strongly worded letter from the FCC. And lastly, on Letterboxd, Carlos Los Cantu said of Pump Up the Volume after giving us a shout out on IG. First time I saw this was around 1991, right as it was hitting premium cable channels after release. I then remember watching bits of it randomly around 1999, but not anytime since until now. Much like the good folks on this most excellent episode of Unkind Rewind Pod, I too had forgotten a whole slew of plot points. What stood out for me at the time, I remember, was the Wiener Schnitzel song from The Descendants, the hearing Soundgarden's Heretic for the first time, which was perfect timing as I was full on into their Bad Motorfinger era. Thinking to myself, right on homie, take over the airwaves, pirate radio forever. What I'd forgotten was the Hi Dad, Happy Birthday I'm in Jail song. Hilarious.
Song.
Song. Yeah.
Song in quotes.
Everyone's weird ass obsession with dicks. The fact that the principal was misappropriating public funds, and essentially embezzling money for the school off the backs of its most vulnerable kids. Holy hell, like what the fuck was actually wrong with adults in the 1980s? Again, that was ripped from his Alan Moyle's sister's school was doing that in
more like
Canada.
Pump up the plot points.
Big time. He thought it held up incredibly well, honestly. Obviously, I was still am a music head at the time, and totally slept on standout performances from Christian Slater and Samantha Mathis. I'd like to now watch a film she did shortly thereafter with River Phoenix I never saw called The Thing Called Love.
I haven't seen that, so.
I believe I have. That's the one in Nashville where he's a country singer, right? Or they're singers in Nashville or something.
I
might be wrong on that, but I think that's one where River Phoenix was like on set was kind of nodding off and stuff. I think his addiction was kind of bad at that point.
Yeah.
But I might be misremembering. Yeah, Bogdanovich did it. Hoping to become a country music star, Miranda Presley, Samantha Mathis moves from New York to Nashville. Yeah. She goes to the Bluebird. She works there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I mostly remember the movie right. But yeah, I'm almost positive he was he was very deep into his addiction. Sandra Bullock's in it. It's early Sandra Bullock.
I don't know if I want to see this, man. I mean, it'd have to be pretty good. I just like I remember where I was when I got the news about him, and it was like I remember feeling like it was a friend of mine.
Yeah. Because of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Just because of everything. I mean, how good was
Stand by
he?
me.
In,
Yeah.
How good was he in that? How good was he in Sneakers?
Yeah.
Like,
Great in
man.
Sneakers.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe you can be the scout on that. If you think it's worth my time, let me know.
Right. But yeah, that's all the follow up from Pump Up the Volume and Gymkata. Keep the things coming. We'll obviously have a front end of the season 1 premiere or season 3 premiere episode. So, yeah, keep the feedback coming. You can keep apprised of what we'll be watching coming up. Again, if you're on Letterboxd or I've got a Substack. Do you have anything to plug before we start talking about the next guest?
Play Cinequote.
Yeah.
That's all you got
every
do.
day.
That's all you got to
Every
do,
day.
guys.
And for me, like, I'm a member, and so I play every game, but I don't necessarily play every day. And I think being a member is an easy way to be like, okay, like, especially for me, like, I'll have days where I am just, like last Thursday and Friday, editing all fucking day.
Yeah. Like, if you miss a day playing Wordle, bye-bye, your streak dies. Yep. If you miss a day doing your fucking Duolingo, bye-bye, your streak's gone.
Right.
But if you're a member like Josh is, it will allow you 7 days to clean up old games. You could even begin a game, walk away from it, and still go back to it a week afterwards. And Josh also gets this access to seeing where the movie of the day is streaming.
Yes.
So if he's... so I'm going to do my impression of Josh. Today is Revenge of the Sith. I definitely want to see that. Oh, I can... Look at that. It's playing on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah, that's a very
Josh
on point impression of me.
Yeah.
I believe, I don't remember if this was on mic, but I know I've complained to you very recently that your continued use of Star Wars quotes has basically, because I'm at the point where I don't want to watch another fucking Star Wars property ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Never need to see one. They can all go screw.
Mm-hmm.
And every time Sean picks Star Wars quotes, it takes me at least 3 movies or 3 quotes to not think that the quote is from like a terrible sci-fi movie.
Sure.
Like, I'm guessing spoof shit. I'm guessing like it's bad. And it takes me so long to even realize that it's in the Star Wars universe because it's so bad that by the time I do, I only have maybe 2 guesses.
I mean, there are people that feel that way, you know, and we talked about this, about so many different genres and so many different movies.
Star Wars has killed 2 streaks of mine that were over 80.
But we all have to have an Achilles heel to remain human, and that's yours. And you, like, that's a very acceptable one to have too. If it's somebody that's just like, oh, it was foreign, and I don't like foreign movies.
I think I got boned on a Harry Potter one once too, and it's there were fucking 8 movies. Like,
yeah, and I would too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know that books. I don't know the world.
Right.
It's just a crapshoot. Maybe I start typing Harry Potter, and it's luck of the draw of which one I want to put in there.
Right.
But
I play it every day, and I have multiple streaks over. I have multiple streaks over 100 straight. My last one died at, I think, 132.
Yeah, and you don't have to be to Josh's level to play the game. Like, Josh is a weird aberration. He's a freak.
Yes.
Like, if you're playing this game, and you get 2 or 3 movies out of the week, right? Great.
Yeah.
So, whether you're new to the game, Cinequote.net, or you're old to the game, thanks for playing. We'll keep at it.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's fun, and it's part of like my everyday routine.
And we got some good games coming up. We got some fun ones. So I'm excited.
Yep. So next week we're watching quite the movie.
Okay, you could say that. Technically, you can say that.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to expand on that at all?
No.
Okay.
So
I mean, they're gonna find out pretty soon.
yeah, and we actually kind of reverse teased it last week
Yeah.
because the Conan episode we actually recorded in season 3 and then dropped in season 2 because he had stuff to plug that was time sensitive. So we went ahead and threw that in because otherwise it would have come out after all of his tour dates were over, basically. So yeah, we got Pump Up the Volume out early, shuffled some things around. Everybody's cool with where they landed. But Maayan's is the last one we actually recorded for season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other late season 2 ones were bumping to season 3 because they're kind of on hiatus right now. So, but yeah. So our next guest is Maayan Olshan, who some people may have seen for a video of his that went viral.
Some people saw him without knowing that it was him, for sure.
Yes, some people have seen Maayan almost die.
Yep.
And like 70 million people have seen Maayan almost die.
Yeah.
And that's just on TikTok.
Perhaps you, the listener, have seen our next guest almost die. And that makes no sense right now, and it will make more sense in a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
What the hell are we talking about?
In a few minutes.
What the hell are we talking about?
Yes. But yeah, many of you have seen Maayan almost die. I worked with him back on maybe the one of the worst Hollywood experiences that I had. One of the worst productions that I had working in the industry. So that's where Maayan and I met. A friendship forged in fire.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. His movie is a thing. I think next week's episode will probably be interesting.
Yeah, but it's not a thing like Phase 4 was a thing.
No.
This is polar opposite. It's a name that even if you haven't seen it, you're going to go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know of this movie for sure.
Yeah. This movie lived it like there was no escaping it.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely knew what this movie was. There's no, you didn't live a life and not know what this movie was, even if you didn't see it. Like Sean hadn't, and I hadn't until I had to watch it,
which is
for
very
a
rare.
Different podcast.
Yeah, that's a rare one.
It almost never happens that we haven't seen a movie, especially a movie that is as like popular. As this one was, but neither one of us were kind of in the target demo for it.
This is definitely a majorly popular movie.
Yeah, a huge box office hit.
Mm-hmm.
With one of the most famous people on the planet.
Yep.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie could have run for office. Given its...
Yeah, there was a subset of people who would have voted for it. They weren't of legal voting age yet, but they would have voted for it.
Yep.
But Maayan Olshan.
Interesting conversation.
Yep.
Some would say a death-defying conversation.
Indeed. Cool. Well, we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Welcome, everybody, another Q's and T's installment of the Unkind Rewind. This week we are getting to know our next guest, Maayan Olshan. I'm of course joined by my co-host, Sean McGrath. How are things in Nueva York, Sean?
We're still here. Yep. I haven't been pulled out of my apartment quite yet.
Yeah. This is before administrations have changed. So.
Well, I imagine that
for the listener at home.
But this comment is probably going to be evergreen.
Yeah. But just so they know, when this actually drops, you may have been pulled from your home.
Right. If there is a significant absence in future episodes, harken back to this one.
That's what's happened.
Yeah.
Maayan, how's it going, buddy?
It's good, man. It's good. It's real good.
So some of the audience may not know you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I think first and foremost, I am a new dad, and that has been the biggest life change ever. So I have a almost 2-year-old and she's a little girl. And then I have a son who is due in March.
Okay.
And
Congrats.
so, yeah, fully. And I've always been known as like the dad of the group. I would always make bad puns. I would always have sandwiches or bagels with me, just like carrying too much stuff. And so now I'm really fulfilling my purpose in life, I feel. So that's been awesome. I have worked at a parkour gym for my last 10 years. Also interested in film. That's how me and Josh met, on film sets in LA. But so I'm really interested in film directing and just the art form in general. But more than that, parkour has been the main focus of my adult career. And I've been a coach, head coach, and general manager of several parkour gyms. And yeah, I just love jumping and flipping on stuff. So those are my main passions, but I'm into music.
Well, you mentioned the 2 kids, so.
What'd you say?
You mentioned the 2 kids, so I assume that you're good at jumping and flipping.
Yes.
On
yes.
things.
And I'm excited to jump and flip with the kiddos.
Yeah. Now, when do they get into it? Like, how early can you start in parkour?
So that gets into the philosophical question of what really is parkour, because climbing on anything counts, and kids are really good at that instinctively.
So just running across a couch, you can be like, check.
Yeah, like when I saw her for the first time, like get up onto the couch by like lifting her leg and pushing up on her elbows, I was like, oh, she did it! Look, she did parkour. So, and then her first time hanging from a bar, she was like probably 18 months when she first hung from a bar by herself. So all of those little milestones are pretty fun. Baby parkour.
We're kind of rubbing it in now.
Well,
see if Josh and I can hang
kids
from bars.
Can do this. It's just most parents don't care about it.
Sure. Yeah. Do you feel like your parkour coaching is opening new avenues by which you can coach your toddler?
Oh, absolutely. But it's even broader than that. So as a coach, I was very into teaching kids how to overcome hard challenges, learn to use their bodies in space, just really understand what they're capable of. And that led to, what does it mean to be a teacher? What does it mean to help people learn more? And then, as a head coach, my students became the coaches. So it took that meta level of, how do you help someone become a better facilitator for others? How do you have someone grow into their own identity? I would take teenagers who weren't really aware of what they were capable of and help them become leaders, right? So that's a whole different type of coaching. And so now I've actually just fallen in love with the process of taking people who have some kind of goal and want to go somewhere, don't know how or why they can't. And I've been focusing on life coaching and mindset coaching, which has been really exciting. And so all of that really started culminating when I was like, I'm not a freaking dad. I need to seek help to figure out what the heck it means to be a real dad, because I have the kid, check. But like, why don't I have the confidence to do whatever I would want my dad to do? And so it's pretty awesome getting to like go through several identity changes like that and just find these techniques to help people fulfill their purpose in life.
I mean, I would posit that most people who have a child aren't real parents at the beginning, you know.
And many, unfortunately, never even they end up being more of the kid to their own kid at the end. Like you can tell if you have like a 40-year-old and a 60-year-old, parent father parent relationship or father child relationship, and you just say the kid is clearly the adult in the room. It's like that parent never really figured out what it meant to parent.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to go to a new public space and turn off the part of your brain that analyzes the environment on how best to parkour it? Or like when you go someplace new, are you always like, ooh, look at that?
It's kind of like if you're in a place that wasn't artfully designed, you don't think about the color or like the interior design shapes. If you're in a place that doesn't have inspiring parkour, you don't think about parkour. But you can't help see good parkour if like a building was just like some garages, I'm just like, yeah, that's a garage. And some of them have these little handholds that weren't meant to be handholds, but I'm like, that's a handhold. So I don't know if it's necessarily a choice. I think you're kind of put it right. I can't turn my brain off of it. I just can go places that are uninspiring for parkour.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking more to what this podcast ends up normally being about, what was your
other than parkour?
Other than parkour, yeah.
I mean, this is what, the 6th parkour coach we've had?
Yeah, this is number 6. Six of I think this is the 20th guest cycle we've recorded, and yeah, it's been six parkour.
But the weird thing is, all subsequent guests are also parkour coaches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
we're a parkour coach movie podcast.
Unkind do parkour.
If you could watch the movie that we're gonna spotlight here while doing parkour. If you could do that, I mean,
yeah,
you can do anything.
Yeah. I'll give him my best shot.
But what would you describe your youth as having been like?
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know we were in a therapy session. Okay.
I don't need it. We don't need to get into like Freudian analysis here, Freudian psychoanalysis. That doesn't need to happen. But like, you grew up in the St. Louis area?
Until I was 4, I was actually in Israel.
Okay.
And then we moved back to St. Louis. And then I went to school and high school there, and then I went to college in Chicago. So most of my youth, you'd say, would be St. Louis. And it was fun. I mean, normal childhood, I played a lot of sports. I think sports kind of dominated my sports and SpongeBob. That was kind of my childhood.
Our Kansas City listeners would be remiss if I didn't ask, because it's a dig at St. Louis. What high school did you go to?
Yes, I went to Parkway Central High School.
Okay.
I was just in Big Bear here in California, and I saw or I met a woman. She was the what's it called? I was at a hostel, and she was the attendant, right, or the receptionist. And I found out. So I first chatted with her when I was checking in, and then later on, found out that she was from the exact same town in Missouri that I'm from. She was like, "Do you know Chesterfield?" And I'm like, "You're kidding. How do you know Chesterfield?" I'm from Chesterfield. And she was from a high school that was basically neighbors with mine.
Okay. Rivals or neighbors?
I mean, on the football field, they definitely weren't our direct competitors, but they were definitely someone we would want to beat. So
okay. And what sort of like family unit did you grow up in?
I had 2 parents and 2 siblings. My grandparents lived pretty close, and then I had another set that was in Chicago, and we would go up for Thanksgiving every year. Yeah.
And what would you say your relationship to movies was as a kid? Like, how did you tend to see them? Was there a driving force behind what you were seeing that was like outside yourself, or were you left to find your own way, kind of?
I loved movies, I think, as long as I can remember. My sister was a huge Disney princess. fan, and I was a huge Disney fan. I don't remember its origin, but it was just like, yeah, Disney is a classic. So, um, but another movie that like comes to mind is Flubber. Just like Disney Channel movies, all sorts of movies. Yeah, I loved watching movies.
Now, did you grow up with like gatekeeper parents who like wouldn't let you watch things that were age inappropriate?
Gatekeeper feels too strong. They were just like responsibly not letting me see very vulgar or grotesque stuff. But I definitely didn't watch a lot of R-rated movies until I was a little older.
Okay. Like older being high school or older being junior high?
I think I was probably 13 or 14 when I was like really like watching any R-rated movies.
Okay.
Did you have that friend that turned you onto this, or like, I don't know, like Josh and I come from the days of like sleeping over at friends' house and seeing things maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Big time.
No, I went to a private school and my friends were all pretty square. So I was always like, yeah, I don't want to watch R-rated movies. Why would I want to watch that? That's not for me. Like I felt pretty confident and good about that. So I wasn't trying to learn what I didn't need to know. I definitely had friends that were like telling me stuff, and I saw stuff here and there, but it was never a prominent part of my childhood.
So your list, I have it in front of me. Your list was mostly the fare that you're kind of talking about having seen. So you submitted Hercules. We're assuming this is the animated one.
Mm-hmm.
Space Jam, presumably again the one that's old enough to have been something you watched as a child.
Yeah,
Flubber, was this the Flubber remake or was this the original Flubber from?
Oh no, Robin Williams, the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, that's a remake.
That's a remake?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
The original was with Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see that now.
Basically, Professor Frank is kind of an embodiment of his character. So on The Simpsons, that is Jerry Lewis in the original Flubber.
Yes.
Wow.
Was it like?
I would have thought I knew that. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe I did know that. That sounds more and more familiar as you talk about it.
I mean, you're not thinking much about Flubber these days, I presume.
I am not.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, the movie is called The Absent-Minded Professor.
Oh, right. Yeah, but Flubber's a remake of The Absent-Minded Professor.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
That's for all those people who are listening to this screaming. That
I know. Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Like blood boiling. It wasn't called Flubber.
That makes a lot more sense.
Flubber was the substance that he created in The Absent-Minded Professor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Then Babe and Hook.
Yes.
So
yeah.
those were the five.
This is a very, very meaty early 90s, like 93 to 97-ish. Like most of those are right in that sweet spot. So whatever you were doing around that time, this was a heavy diet of movies during this age for you.
Well, I was born in 92, so that was my 4 to 7 probably. I came back to America, and I was just watching the ones that were out there, the public ones.
Fucking
were
assimilate.
Your siblings older?
Well, I have one older sibling by 5 years and one younger by 4 years.
Okay.
This is the best way to, like, adapt to America is through these movies, I think.
I connect with other millennials as closely as I think I could have if I was born here.
Sure. I mean, you were 4 when you came back.
Yeah.
Like, you presumably don't really remember much of your time before living in the U.S. I remember fuck all before I was.
I remember photos and memories I was told I had.
Yeah. So of those 5 movies, Hercules, Space Jam, Flubber, Babe, and Hook, what movie do you think Sean and I chose?
Oh.
It's really impossible to kind of gauge this.
It's a fun guessing game. Is there like any criteria you can like hint at that might My first guess is Babe.
One, it has to be something that I think we'd be okay watching as adults. Two, just to help you a little bit. Two, I think Sean and I don't like. You can eliminate Babe from the list.
Okay.
Sean and I would both see Babe and think that movie's good. There's no reason to go back and revisit this. There's not really anything interesting to talk about because that one will hold up for sure.
Yeah, we would probably just be fawning over it for an hour.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, yeah. I just made an homage to it actually.
Yeah, because it's good.
It's really good.
And so's Babe too, Pig in the City.
I did a shot-for-shot TikTok remake of the dance scene when he's feeding Babe back to life out of sickness.
Right.
I got in costume and everything, and I set up different camera angles. I was like, I wonder if I could do this, and it was a very fun little film project.
Is this on TikTok?
Yes, it is.
Is it on YouTube?
It's not on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Just check.
Okay, so
of the remaining movies.
Well, you guys did bring up Flubber quick. No, I think I brought it up actually. And I feel like it does hold up also, but it will have a lot of socially outdated like I think the bad guy is probably a little socially outdated. But I doubt you would do Hercules, but I don't know. I guess I don't know what you guys think of Disney, so
I mean, we're not Disney people.
But. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't think that'd be something you'd really harp on. And then what was the last one that you said?
So you had Hercules, Space Jam, Flubber, Babe, and Hook.
Yeah, maybe Space Jam. I feel like Space Jam.
It's Space Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having not rewatched Space Jam in ages, can you briefly describe what you remember or think the plot of the film was? Just like relatively broad strokes, 1 or 2 minutes tops.
I think I don't know if this disqualifies it. I think I watched it a few years ago and like vividly remember it. Does that disqualify it? Because I didn't even think about it. I don't know. That movie's always stuck so perfectly in my head. What happens? So like I feel like I want to just go in for the shot for shot of it.
If I have never seen Space Jam and I was like, hey, what's Space Jam about?
Yeah, so it's Michael Jordan gets sucked into a golf hole and he ends up in Looney Tune land. And then these aliens from a tiny planet, I think they're Martians even, they come searching for his talent and they take on all the talent from the best NBA stars and challenge Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes to a basketball game. And they turn into monsters that they have to somehow beat. And it's the tale of them beating the monsters.
So the talent is some kind of harvestable energy source or something?
Indeed. They are
like
these
Michael Jordan's midichlorians?
Yes. They what's it called? They take a basketball and then the basketball harnesses, just like the soul gets sucked out of them. It's this like cartoonish sludge that is pulled out of them mid basketball games. And then they just fumble around the court because they've lost their secret sauce.
Now, did you grow up a basketball fan?
My favorite number is 23. And I think it's from Space Jam. Because my father's from Chicago. So we like the Bulls was something that I was indoctrinated with, but I never really followed them. I think I was more in love with like the Michael Jordan Bulls legacy as opposed to watching them play basketball.
Yeah.
So 96, 97, 98, they had another three-peat.
Yeah.
Do you have any childhood memories about that era of watching Michael Jordan or the Bulls?
Definitely no specifics. If anything, it was just Michael Jordan's a legend. Like watching the highlight reels and things like that.
Michael Jordan is welcome in this house at any time.
Yeah. Well, you're born in 92, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're 6 when the last ring goes on the finger. So I mean, I remember the championship when I was 7, the NBA championship
Yeah.
when I was 7. So
Yeah.
that's the first one that I recall.
What about playing basketball?
Yeah, did you play?
I loved playing basketball. I played on my middle school team. I had a basketball hoop in my backyard, and I think one of the other really big standout identities I had with basketball was NBA Street Volume 2. I don't know if you've ever played that, but
That wasn't GameCube, was it?
I think I played it on PlayStation, but I think it was on GameCube. And yeah, they had like these awesome like people from all over, but I just remember like Brooklyn-esque, Globetrotter types. And I just was in the backyard doing like fancy dribbling. I didn't want to be a good shooter. I wanted to be a fancy dribbler.
You wanted to be White Chocolate 2.0?
White Chocolate 2.0.
Now, those were characters that were kind of made for the game, but there was some kind of Michael Jordan unlock code.
Oh yeah.
That you could play as Jordan.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was very much like a pickup game with different rules and 3-on-3 or.
When I first moved out here and I went to Laguna Beach for my first time, I was like, yo, they recreated this in the game. This basketball court is the court. Like, this is the California Championship court.
That's funny.
Yeah.
When would the first time you saw NBA Jam be? Or not NBA Jam.
Space Jam.
Space Jam.
I
will probably do that a lot, so start your clocks.
We grew up playing playing NBA Jam.
Yeah,
I just did it the other way.
Did the other way.
I think probably when I was 6. That just feels right. When I was 6.
Was there a copy in the house? Was it something that would come on TV? Was it something you saw?
Sure, we had a copy. Yeah.
Would you have seen it in a theater though? At any point?
That I don't recall.
Okay. Well, it came out in 96, right?
Yeah.
So probably not. I don't think it. It's not one of those things that gets brought back.
Right. It was well before movies were. It had to be Jurassic Park, basically. It had to be that big to have a return to the theater. Yeah. So what do you think you were like as a child who was, moderately obsessed with this film?
You guys really are doing therapy out here. Okay.
You can lay back on the couch if you want.
Yeah. How do I feel about this? So my biggest dream as a kid that I remember was I wanted to be in the NFL. Football was actually my primary. I loved the idea of being a wide receiver. My idol was Torrey Holt from the Rams in St. Louis. And I think I just really loved sports. I just picture playing baseball, soccer, basketball, in my backyard, even front yard. And yeah, I identified mostly with PE at school, we were out track on the field and track, and I wanted to beat my friends at the mile or half mile, whatever it was. So that's little me that I remember.
So you think you might have seen this a few years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. What was it about Space Jam that you think appealed to your younger self?
It still appeals to me now. It's leaving the real world to a beautiful, silly, imaginary world where you're on an adventure and nothing really matters, but everyone's fun and creative. You're lost there.
Okay.
But also high stakes. I mean, doesn't it put the NBA stars in sort of a kind of save the universe type of predicament? I from what I gather, and full disclosure, I haven't seen Space Jam.
I mean, it does. You haven't seen Space Jam, okay?
No. I hadn't seen it until like a year ago.
Yeah, you hadn't seen it until a year ago?
And maybe if like Josh and I want to lay out on the couch too, we can get into kind of the specifics on why this movie, which very much seems like a movie that we should have seen.
I was 17 when this came out.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not the target audience for that at 17. I was a pretentious 17-year-old.
Yeah,
If you were-
it's certainly trying to cater to two distinct audiences: the cartoon audience and then the NBA fanboy,
of which we were definitely a part of.
But I think if you were also 6 years older, maybe that's a little, maybe 8 or 9 years older, you'd also have kids around at that time, right? Not necessarily yourself, but you'd be in the adult space where people would be talking about it because their kids were watching it.
Sean and I both
Maybe
dodged
12
that bullet.
years older. But I'm saying, and not you specifically, but the fact that the audience for any kids movie includes the parents.
I think that there was something that felt like it was trying to cash in on like the massive spike in popularity stemming from the 92 Dream Team. Just what in terms of
in the first Bulls 3-peat on the
but in terms of
Magic and Bird.
Yeah, and in terms of like worldwide popularity and worldwide appeal, like that was that 92 Dream Team that really put the NBA on kind of like a world stage. And then like Josh said, like having a dominating run by one team also kind of makes non-fans fans. Like my mom was a fan of the Chicago Bulls and liked Jordan and knew who Scottie Pippen was. That doesn't happen if they don't win 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
and then 6 times over 8 years.
6 and 8 years.
And also, but like, you have to think about it from the perspective of if these athletes are in a movie, there's an appeal for them to be in the movie, right? Like besides just money. I mean, because they have to put their personality on the line. Like there are some athletes that would not be able to do a movie. They're not interested in being a public figure in that way, having to act. Because like Michael Jordan and LeBron James are both and Shaq, like they're very friendly, personable people who can be on a film set, be a little uncomfortable outside their talent zone and still hold up because they're sociable, And I think most legends probably are Babe Ruth, or it's like they probably would all be interested, but not any athlete. Like a lot of them are just in their own head. They couldn't do something like that. And so I think Michael Jordan, he had kids at the time that he was filming it. So there's probably a lot of like the people that were in his, that knew him, that could get a hold of him or whatever. When they're thinking, what movies do we want to make? They want to be inspiring kids. That's probably a big part of where it came from.
Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of people when they have kids wanting to make something for their kids.
Yeah.
But it's also a paycheck, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what I know about this,
some like Michael Jordan doesn't. I don't know, but I don't think he needs the paycheck, right? Like he was freaking rich.
He had a drive to be the spokesperson for everything.
Sure, but
I don't think I like.
But if you know Michael Jordan, if you know these people, even Tiger Woods, there's always motivation behind a paycheck, but then there's always motivation behind getting the paycheck, which is because they don't need more money. What they want is more influence, and money is the reference to that influence. And so for Michael Jordan, he believes that he could be the greatest. Like that was his mindset that made him Michael Jordan, is he could be the greatest of all time. And so after that, after you've been the greatest on the court, I think what's his name? Kobe is a really good example. Like he wanted to be the greatest of all time on and off the court. And you see that in the works that he did. Like he wanted to, not that there weren't problems as well, but
that's what I was kind of looking up and thinking, well, there's also Eagle, Colorado.
Yeah. But then there's also like when you're the best person in the world, you're also people's perception.
Sure.
The spotlight on you is also the strongest. Like Cosby. Like there are plenty of other people that did the exact horrible thing that Cosby did, but because we all were so in love with Cosby before we found out, it hits a lot harder.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway.
unfortunately a normal part of the society. It's just
Sure.
you don't find out about it.
Yeah, people get power and then abuse it.
Yeah.
What memories do you have that stick out most about your past with Space Jam?
Okay. I have a fantastic story. I have to go. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay.
This is just building tension. A fantastic story. And then
Is this going to be Marvin the Martian or something?
I hope it's like a Space Jam starter jacket or like a Letterman jacket or something like that.
Yeah. Was Spike Lee in Space Jam?
Probably.
Feels like he would have been.
Yeah, I just know Wayne Knight's in it. Uh-oh. Oh my god. Wow.
So
Are you allowed to wear that out?
what'd you say?
Could you wear that to dinner?
I could totally wear that to dinner. I've worn it many times to either a Halloween party or just like a 90s party. I think I wore it to.
For the listening audience, Maayan just produced a Toon Team number 23
squad.
jersey. Toon Squad.
Toon Squad.
Number 23 Jordan jersey.
Yeah, it was hung up. It was hung up in a closet.
Yeah.
Now here's the story though. The story makes it so much better. This was just like 6-7 years ago. I was at was it Ventura County? I think it was the Ventura County Fair. And man, when I walked past the basketball game where you could win this, did my heart drop. I said, Bradley, he was my roommate. I said, and he's a huge basketball guy. He's actually worked for the Lakers, huge sneakerhead. He met Kobe. And I said, Bradley, I think I need that jersey. But if I play and I miss it, and I don't want to waste our tickets on that. It's just a silly pipe dream. I don't need it. It was like 6 tickets or whatever, and we were cheap, so I literally didn't play. I said, no, that's okay. We spent, a few hours. We're at the county fair. We did everything. We left the county fair. Okay, we are walking in the large giant parking lot to get back to our car. And on the ground are 6 tickets. And I said, Bradley, it's a sign. And he said, do your duty, my friend. And I took the tickets and I sprinted through the entire fair. I ran. Remember, I'm like 25, 26. Like, this is an adult doing this. But I'm like, I just see it in my head. And I run through the crowds. I'm like weaving and dodging. And like, I'm just so hyped. I have all the adrenaline in the world. And I just throw it down on the counter. I probably, like, if this were the movie version in my head, I like flung a little girl out of the way and I said, give me a ball, And then I took it. I dribble it 2 times and I am in the movie right now. I'm just like, I am taking the free throw that I need. And I pop the hands and I get it on the first shot. It was, it's a 3-pointer. It's just, you gotta make it, sink it. You get like 2 balls or 3 balls. And first shot, I said, give me that Toon Squad. And I just walk out so proud. And my friends, my other roommate, Sammy, she was there. And they literally pull up around the corner. And I am just gleaming. And they're like, no way. He had like 2 shots and he got it. So that was a core memory. I couldn't stop talking about that one for a week or 2.
Right on.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with my childhood relationship to the game. But obviously, as you can tell, it is a remnant of...
There's still a pull for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think if I were to pin it down, first of all, Bugs Bunny is just a legend. There's a reason he's one of the, iconic characters of youth culture. And that's because he's so confident. His personality is so amorphous that he can be whatever anyone else needs him to be. He can disrupt Daffy Duck or Elmer Fudd, and take their flaws and just like play with them. He doesn't care. And Wile E. Coyote, he's just the legend who no one can really affect. And the way that he takes on all of the characters and just like brings them up, you just really feel like that sense of like, I'm on a team where we were the underdogs and we won. And you just get to love not that if you didn't know the Looney Tunes before, the movie itself has a full character arc for basically all of the Looney Tunes to make like that kind of Remember the Titans feel in a completely ridiculous cartoon scenario. So the movie's just a freaking fantastic story arc for cartoon fans as well as sports fans.
Now, were you a Looney Tunes kid?
Definitely
in addition
not,
to being a Disney kid?
no, not that much. Like I definitely watched them. I think I liked Bugs Bunny. I liked Daffy Duck, but I remember the Animaniacs almost more, or Tom and Jerry even more. But I was always like, what is the Looney Tunes? I don't even know what the show is, because all I can picture is Wile E. Coyote, trying to chase down the Roadrunner, and what's it called? Sylvester trying to get Tweety Bird. Like that's what I remember, and I barely remember that. Like the anvils falling.
Sure.
So I definitely wasn't a huge.
There was a lot of pursuit. Like even Bugs Bunny was hunted constantly by Elmer Fudd.
Or Yosemite Sam.
Or Yosemite Sam, yeah. Like there was always like a very easy to grasp narrative for a kid to be like, okay, these people's intentions are clear, and Chuck Jones was really amazing and was able to kind of create a world that shouldn't have any boundaries and actually make some restraints to it, which I think, I don't know, fostered the creativity within the Looney Tunes world.
Yeah,
I like Looney Tunes.
There's something very universal about a protagonist and an antagonist in a very simple setting, because you can map yourself and whatever you're doing onto one of them, right?
Yeah.
You're either the protagonist or you're the antagonist in some life situation that you're dealing with. So everything can be a metaphor. Like the anvil is this thing that just hit me at my job, or this kid at my school is the bully. He's Elmer Fudd. Oh, this is what I have to do in order to escape the bully, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and Bugs Bunny being able to inhabit like anything makes him kind of a universal protagonist. Yeah. What expectations do you have for your return to Space Jam?
I can see myself buttering up some popcorn, turning off the lights, sitting on the couch, and just being like, "Oh, here we go again." First of all, the opening is for Bulls fans. I mean, it's just like it's that song that anyone that's a millennial, at least my age, like we all know, "Pump Up the Jam," probably from Space Jam, because I think the song came out. I don't know. That song wasn't
Pump Up the Jam's Technotronic in 90 or 91, I think, maybe 92.
Yeah, so that would not be a song, if you're my age, if it weren't for Space Jam.
Or
do you know about
it was
Sirius?
Also on.
Do you know about the song Sirius?
Which song?
Which was the techno.
The Bulls opening, like the Bulls when the lights go down at
United.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So
I'm wondering if that makes an appearance here.
That's Alan Parsons' project.
I don't think, but maybe.
Okay. Pump Up the Jam was 89 actually, but that's one of those songs that jock jams also helped make ubiquitous, like 5 years after it came out.
Yeah.
Like where now every every sporting event
Yeah.
because of Jock Jams has like the same 10 songs, same 15 songs really, that just every goddamn sporting event has these songs.
There's so much jam talk today, guys.
Yeah.
This,
A lot.
this might be hitting our quota for the season, Josh, on just jam mentions.
Yeah, I mean, we've
It's up
probably
there.
blown past it already.
Yeah, we probably shot our load.
Well, I know this is I don't need to share this with you because you guys are a parkour show, but whenever parkour people meet up, we call it a jam.
Sure.
Oh God, of course.
As one has to, right?
As one has to.
Well, I'm certain that there's going to be some little nuggets that we can glean from Space Jam, which I think Josh and I are going to think fostered your parkour interest.
Very
So,
possibly.
yeah.
I mean, honestly,
so-
I think off the bat, it would just be like parkour is the ultimate version of overcoming hard challenges, and this would be Michael Jordan facing one of the hardest challenges in his life, escaping Looney Tune land.
Do you think you're going to still unabashedly love Space Jam?
I'm curious to see what you guys point out that makes me maybe cringe about it.
That's what we're here for, man.
But like, I can picture. I remember the whole movie. I believe I do. I think the cringiest part is the baseball scene when Michael Jordan plays baseball, and the guy who plays Newman. I don't know his real name from Seinfeld.
Wayne Knight.
Wayne Knight. His character, upon analysis, I'm sure is really cringy, but upon watching is fantastic. I mean, it's a great character.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say that if I knew nothing about this movie, like the enthusiasm you have for it would make me excited to watch it.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
And I think that's evident that there's very much a love you have for the Space Jam.
Yes. No, I do. I mean, I'll be honest though. I just love movies. Like it's hard unless I watch a movie that I think is just a trash movie, like a literal trash movie. If it's a movie I liked, I probably love it to death.
It's like, as if you liked it as a child, you love it to death, or still like you watch it for the first time now, you liked it, so you love it to death.
I'm just trying to think. I just watched a movie recently that I just walked out and I was like, absolutely freaking fantastic. Inside Out 2.
What one was?
I walked out from Inside Out 2 and I said, freaking brilliant.
Did you see that, Sean?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I know it made like $1 billion though.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if you had to watch it.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it did pretty well.
He's on the SAG nominating committee right now.
The what?
SAG nominating committee.
I mean, but that by and large are for
live action
roles where people get nominated for Best Actor or Best Actress.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That would not fall into
as good of a job as Amy Poehler can probably do. I don't think it's
not gonna transcend the animated media.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Best Actor and Actress title is very bound by what writers you have on the project. As in a story makes for a character to be great or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slippery slope, and we're not having 5 actors all play the same role and seeing who was the best at that role, right?
Yeah.
It's completely arbitrary, and oftentimes they don't get it right. But
yeah,
usually, honestly,
yeah,
it's more of whose character is the most obviously good, not which one's really the best acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the movies have to
support it.
They also have to be seen by enough people. There are certainly performances that just don't create the type of waves that they need to in order to kind of fetch even a nomination, let alone a win.
Yeah.
A very good performance I saw recently was about a boxer called Day of the Fight with Michael Pitt, who Josh nose from certain things, but has had kind of a up and down problematic career, perhaps. But he was absolutely fantastic. Is that movie big enough to kind of get him a nomination? Absolutely not. No.
I remember the movie that I just watched. Not that I hadn't seen it as a kid, and I wish I put this on the list because I was just talking about it, about how much of an impact it made on me as a kid. And I just watched it again and couldn't believe how much I remembered. And that was the movie Hero.
Okay, with Dustin Hoffman.
No,
With Jet Li?
with Jet Li.
Okay, all right. Oh, the Hoffman one's a hero, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, get it right, Josh.
Is it, Sean? I don't know.
It's very possible. Yeah, with Andy Garcia.
I think so. I think he's also
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
But Jet Li, yeah, I mean, hey man, we're getting to the bottom of this parkour lab because Jet Li does a lot of that.
Oh, the relationship between movement, psychology, philosophy, challenge, and heroism. Yeah.
This might be an obvious question to ask at this point, but have you seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
I feel like I can't answer it because I feel like I did, but I also don't remember watching it all the way through. So I definitely know about it. I definitely know I've seen scenes. I probably did watch it, but my answer is like I think so.
Okay. Well, one to revisit.
He was also
perhaps.
10 when it came out.
Yeah.
Right, but we've seen Wizard of Oz, and that
I
came
know.
out in
I know.
39.
But that's also like America's best movie in many people's belief system.
Eyes.
So like
I'd rather
that's-
watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon than Wizard of Oz.
I sure
Oh,
as hell
sure.
would too.
I love The Wizard of Oz though. I think it's a timeless classic as well.
Have you returned
we'd
to
like to-
Oz?
We'd like to get you on an episode to argue that with Max Reaper, who we had on for Return to Oz and stuck by his assessment as a 7 or 8-year-old that Return to Oz was better than Wizard of Oz.
I don't know if I've seen Return to Oz. I
Your
know.
Yeah, that was
sister
one of our
probably
season
has.
1 episodes.
What'd you say?
I said
That was
your
one of our
sis-
season 1 episodes.
Yeah, and if your sister's a Disney princess and was kind of ingesting that channel for a long time, she probably couldn't have avoided Return to Oz, which played ad nauseum on that network.
Mhm. I know. I've seen Oz with Michael Jackson. I think it's
For
called
the Wiz?
The Wiz.
The Wiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you saw Oz, I would question what kind of safeguards were in the house, because that's a pretty brutal prison show.
No.
Way
That was
different.
An early HBO
Yeah.
drama series.
Pre-Sopranos, yeah.
And then I'm a huge
Pre-Sopranos.
Wicked fan. I'm excited for the movie.
Well, I'll tell you, I really liked it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can tell in a trailer how much heart and spirit the director and the crew have when the movie's there, and you can just tell that movie isn't just trying to remake something. It's like every Disney live action, the trailer, I already don't want to watch the movie. You know, you can tell that there's no heart in it. There's just someone who thinks they understand the movie remaking it, and that's clearly not what's happening with Wicked.
and we need to put air quotes around live action with all those Disney movies.
Oh, sure. CGI realism.
Yeah, ugh.
I know Josh is kind of innately resistant to any kind of musical film, but I'll tell you this, that I went in not knowing the story, and I came out going like, I think it's actually pretty good. So
You were more effusive in your praise than that, but
yeah, I think Ariana Grande is criminally underrated as a comedic actress, and I wish she would kind of give up this frivolous music career and kind of focus on it, because one of the more comedic performances I've seen this year. She was really, really good in that movie. So,
Well, I think I've been watching her TikTok, and she's like her bit with Jimmy Fallon. She just seems like she's really letting her personality out instead of her brand identity, which is awesome.
yeah. Speaking of TikTok, where can people find you, Maayan?
O.MAAYAN.O. That's my name. And then on Instagram, if you want to see my parkour, because I can't post parkour on TikTok. I blew up on TikTok. I got 31 million views on TikTok.
Yep. God.
Video where I did parkour and ate it in the worst possible way without sustaining much of an injury. So it was a really radical video that just blew up the night.
I just watched it again yesterday.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got 70,000 followers, kept posting parkour because, hey, that's what my audience wanted. And TikTok kept saying, these are dangerous acts. We're going to shut down your account. So I was like, I guess I'll just debate veganism instead. And
You're still full on. You've still got the full blown veganism.
no, but I love debating it. But on the account, I mostly just do life coaching now.
Yeah.
Mindset stuff.
So where do the TikTok videos exist now? If they
the one with 32 million views is still there.
But you can't post more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's just
they're
risky because they'll
potentially
ban it.
And so what's your IG handle?
My IG handle is coach_mayonnaise.
Okay. Normal, full, standard spelling of mayonnaise?
Standard spelling. Two N's, if anyone doesn't know how to spell mayonnaise, because
MAYONNAISE.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the videos that are intentionally dangerous in the parkour world?
Oh, I definitely don't admire, I'd say. I don't want to say approve of, but I don't admire like people hanging from one hand on a crane.
Yeah, or parkouring over really long precipitous falls or chasms or things like that.
So those I have a lot better respect for because there is a cultural ethos of can it be done? And I'm really challenging my mental strength and ability, which is super different than look what I can do. You guys are all scared of this, but I'm not. That one feels a lot more like fuck it. And the other one feels a lot more like this is winning 6 championships for the parkour community. Right? Like it's the ultimate limit. It's not an adrenaline daredevil stunt. Those are you. There are people that do that, and that's stupid. But I think it's similar to free solo. It's like
I was just going to invoke that.
There are free solos that are just like you are a crazy person. You're just an adrenaline junkie, and then there's people that are like, I'm only living this life once, and I want to see what I'm capable of. Death does not stop me from really pushing my limits, and so I can admire one half of it, but I'm not hooked on that part of it.
Right.
I will say I absolutely fantasize about being as good as the Paris rooftop runners. I mean, they do some absolutely gnarly jumps on the tiniest windowsills and keep going at full speed. The amount of confidence and precision they have, it can't be adrenaline. It's pure technique. And I don't want to watch them do it because I don't want to see someone die. If it's posted online, usually they didn't die, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic craftsmanship of their skill set.
It also screams non-parent.
The best parkour athlete that I have in my community had a very non-guided childhood and interaction with drugs and stuff, but just so free, just so capable with doing things without fear.
Does this person have a child?
He has 2 children. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just getting to Sean's non-parent comment.
Yeah, but he might not be on the rooftops of buildings though. So he might not be like Prince of Persiaing his way across like a 16-foot.
He did that before he was a parent. Although I'll be honest, I mean, I did my first ever double backflip off of a ledge to a mat, which like normally I can do them on a trampoline pretty easily, or I can do them into a foam pit pretty easily, or onto a really soft mat. But this was like onto a normal mat. So this meant I had to know that I would get over my head, right? Because it could be a broken neck if I didn't know I was going to do it. And I had a kid at that time, and I was like, part of me was saying, should I not do this? And a part of me was saying, this isn't about proving you can do it. It's about having confidence in your vision of what is possible. And so when you know you can do something, it really doesn't matter how risky it seems to others. The risk isn't actually in the stunt. The risk is in how much of a leap of faith are you making when you perform the stunt? And how many possible other factors might show up. Like if you're doing it outside, a bird might show up.
Sure.
Or a loud noise, like a car crash. But if you're in a gym and no
Controlled
kids are running
environment.
around, you have less factors that are the problem.
Okay, so Instagram, you said it was coach_mayonnaise?
Yeah.
And TikTok, it's o.maayan.o.
Oh.
Yeah, and Maayan's Maayan.
Yeah.
Okay. Are any other socials to plug? Anything else to plug?
No, right now. That's it.
Okay, cool. Well, Maayan, thank you so much for opening up your childhood to the possibility of ruination.
Probably not.
But maybe.
If that were really like, I just have to think of a movie that I wasn't super in love with, but like I don't know how bad it was until I watch it again. But like movies that I love, they're just up here. It'd be hard pressed to be.
Okay.
Oh, that was terrible.
Well, now you've set some real goals for me next week.
Yes. I'd love to see you make me hate Michael Jordan. That'd be pretty.
Better chance of that than Josh and I doing a standing double backflip or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, let's get out there and start space jamming.
Yeah. Is that the last one, Sean?
For right now, I'm not going to.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Maayan. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. This was fun.
We'll see ya.
Adios.
You've just listened to another installment of the Unkind Rewind podcast, mining and potentially ruining your childhood for content, one film at a time. Unkind Rewind is a Munchcast production and can be ingested wherever you listen to podcasts and on the Unkind Rewind YouTube channel. Music for this and every other episode of Unkind Rewind was composed by Divorcio Suave. Rate, review, like, and subscribe to Unkind Rewind on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Good Pods. Links to all our social media accounts are in our show notes, but you'll find us as @UnkindRewindPod on nearly every social media platform, all of which are available at our website, unkindrewind.com. If you have a question, concern, complaint, or feedback, you can email the podcast at unkindrewindpod@gmail.com or call into our call-in line, area code 507-479-6440, and leave a message that can be played on air. Fans should join the Munchcast Discord to discuss this or any other episode of the Unkind Rewind with like-minded people. This dialogue may just make it into a future episode of the pod. The Unkind Rewind Patreon will be coming soon, so start squirreling that pocket change away. Thank you for listening to another Unkind Rewind.